All right, got less than a minute.
You're just scaring me.
All right. Ready, good?
Yeah.
I think
Okay.
he's just
Okay.
raring to go.
All right, well, good evening, everybody. Welcome to the regularly scheduled city council meeting for June 4th, 2024. My name is Mark Clark. I'm the mayor. I'll call the meeting to order. Please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Mayor Clark,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Spear,
Here.
Councilmember Johnson,
Present.
Councilmember Neal,
Present.
Councilmember Mortensen,
Here.
Councilmember Crabtree,
Here.
Councilmember Delaney.
Present.
All right, next item, audience participation. Is there anybody in the audience that wishes to address city council on any item that's not on the agenda or of a public hearing? Line. Seeing none. All right, moving on. Approval of the agenda. Madam Clerk, any changes to the agenda?
No, Mayor.
All right, and entertain a motion.
I move to approve the agenda. Second.
Motion is second to approve the agenda. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion passes. Next item, consent agenda. Item number 1, approval of the May 21st, 2024 City Council meeting minutes. Item number 2, consideration of ordinance number 820-24, approving an oil and gas lease between the City of Evans and PDC Energy Incorporated North Point Subdivision, Tract E, second reading. Item number 3, consideration of ordinance number 821-24, approving an oil and gas lease between the City of Evans and PDC Energy Incorporated, 17th Avenue right-of-way north of 42nd Street, second reading.
I move to approve the consent agenda.
I second.
Motion is second to approve the consent agenda. All those in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion passes. Next items, new business. Item number 4, approval of the 2023 financial audit. We'll hear from staff.
Good evening, Mayor Clark, members of City Council. At your previous City Council meeting, you did hear from Christine McLeod and Abby Irvine from Haney and Company, who are your independent financial auditors. They provided an update on our 2023 financial audit and the results of that process. If you remember, they did indicate to you all that their opinion on the 2023 audit would be an unmodified opinion or a clean opinion. So that's what we strive to do all year long to make sure that we get those results. They did present those in draft format to allow City Council the opportunity to review those and ask any questions. So in your packet tonight is the finalized version of that report. It remains unchanged from the information that you heard and saw, just with some updated dates. And then upon your acceptance or approval of that audit, we will file it with the state, get it on the website, and get it finalized on our end. Be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Any questions for staff?
Pretty
It
straightforward.
was pretty straightforward from last time. So again, kudos to you and your staff for all the great work that they do. Appreciate it. So, no other questions or comments? I'd entertain a motion.
I move to. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Good, one of you.
Okay, so I move to accept the 2023 audit report and financial statements. Second.
Motion is second to accept the 2023 audit report and financial statements. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion passes. Thank you. All right, next item on the agenda, item number 5, consideration of EVO radar installation contract. We'll hear from staff.
Evening, Mr. Mayor, members of council. So we've installed cameras on all the traffic signals back in 2019. They were bargain basement. We got them for a really great deal, and we found out why. So we've had issues for the last 5 years trying to make them work and getting them to work. So we spent the last year or so researching and finding a better hot dog, I guess, to make this thing work a little bit better. We settled on these Evo radar units, and because there's only one supplier for our cabinet system, and it works, and we sole source the actual purchase of the units. So they've been purchased, and they're sitting in the engineering office right now. Then we put out a request for bids to actually install the units from a certified electrician. We received 3 bids. The lowest bid was from Luminate, who are currently under contract to do our monthly maintenance on the units, so they're very familiar with the cabinets, the signals, everything, and their bid came in below what's remaining of our overall budget for the project. So staff is recommending award of the contract to Luminate. We've been working with them for the last 5 years, so we're very familiar with them. They know what we need to do, and we're happy with them. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Great, thank you. Any questions, comments? These ones are gonna last?
Sorry?
These are gonna last?
They're a much better product for sure, and, yeah.
All right, sounds good. Any other questions, comments? Councilmember Neal, you have something?
Oh, well, I'm glad it came well under budget.
Okay. All right, if there's no questions or comments, I'd entertain a motion.
I move to award the Evo radar installation contract in the amount of $48,630 with a contingency of $4,870 to Luminate to be used with the city manager approval for not to exceed amount of $53,500.
Second.
Motion is second to approve, to award the EVO radar installation contract in the amount of $48,630 with a contingency of $4,870 to Illuminate to be used only with city manager approval for not to exceed amount of $53,500. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion passes. All right, thank you. All right, next item number 6, consideration of project award for the Chapel Detention Pond grading and maintenance project. We'll hear from staff.
So this project is one that's been in the works for a while. Our staff did do a lot of work on it earlier this spring and removed a lot of the vegetation. But in order to complete the project and bring the pond back to its original status, it requires a lot more equipment, a bunch of bigger equipment that we don't have. So we put this out to bid. As it noted in the staff report, because of the interest of time, we did not do a full-blown survey of the pond to verify what the actual earthwork quantities would be. We field measured, we walked it, we looked up and down it. So we've estimated the materials that are gonna have to be removed based on the total area and an approximate depth of removal. And then also the final grading in order to get the pond to grade to the existing pans, which will be replaced with wider pans. So we've added a little bit more contingency on this one than we normally would. We normally add a 10% contingency on the bid. We've added a 25% contingency just in case. And we're still within the overall budget because all this money is coming from the leftover ARPA money. We've still got a significant amount of money left over, even with this project and the next one, which is on the list. We hadn't worked with Guy before. They're out of Pierce. But they've done a lot of earthwork operations. They provided us with 3 or 4 references that we called. They all glowed about the fact that they do really good work. They're really straight up with it. If there's a problem, they present solutions. They're good to work with, so we're happy with our recommendation. And if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
And they know the scope of this project. I mean, that's I'm sure not an easy project, that whole thing. Who knows what's under there and what's going. So they really know the scope of what they're going to be doing.
And they feel confident that they think that we can get the work done in 4 to 5 weeks.
Wow.
Which beats our schedule because we want to be done before Chapelot and Dos Rios open.
Because I was really concerned. I mean, the bids, fluctuate from 480 to 723. And when I saw that and that they were willing to do that for that price, red flags went up and go, do they really know the scope of the work? But hey, if they can do it and we have that contingency, that's great.
Go ahead.
So I have pretty grave concerns about this. I understand why you're proposing a 25% contingency, but what concerns me is with a 25% contingency, that means that Melvin Geib could have said, okay, well, cool, we'll bid 480, win the contract, and be under more reasonable bids from AB Underground and Full Tilt Solutions. And if you have a 10%, that's way less likely to happen. So the point of going out to bid is to get a solid bid that actually represents what the project is going to cost. Now, there's no saying that AB Underground wouldn't come in with 25% more too, but it is very concerning to me that we're selecting somebody who could conceivably spend more than the next 2 people, and also just under, the third person. And to the mayor's point, the bids go all the way to $854,000. I have real concerns about. I understand we were worried about the timing of this, but I have very big concerns that without doing that study, we are taking a project that historically has been a nightmare because we didn't do anything about it, and now we're adding another possible mistake.
Well, I think also too, I think regardless of what bid, we would probably still have to add that 25%. And this is just my thought, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, is we don't know what's under there because, to your point, it's been neglected for so long. We say we went with them and it was say 10%, it's still gonna raise the cost because they might get under there and say, ooh, this is a lot worse than we think. And then at 600,000 now becomes 800,000. Or this, I mean, I see your point on that too, but I think no matter what, we'd have to add a pretty bit large contingency on it just because of the scope of the work. And we really don't know till they get in there what the damage has been done to that. So.
And at at the pre-proposal and at all the addendums, we clearly stated that this is not surveyed engineering design. And they bid it based on the scope that was provided. They did not know that we were going to go 25%. That wasn't decided until we prepared this packet. So the 25% is, for me, so that we make sure that we have enough just in case, because there's too many unknowns here. If I had my druthers, we'd wait till next summer, but you don't want to leave that for another year? We want to get that done. We spent the money earlier this spring to knock off a bulk of it, but we didn't have the wherewithal in staff to complete the rest of the work, because they're going to be in there with some fairly large equipment and dump trucks and whatnot moving in and out of there. So having that extra contingency, they didn't know. We've talked to them directly. They've done substantial amount of big earthwork projects throughout northern Colorado and out of state. They haven't done work, but this is exactly what they do for a living. They work for all kinds of different clientele that need big earthwork. So they know what they're doing, and they've been in business for quite a while. I think the current president is the son of the founder, is my understanding.
Well, it still falls within our budget, so.
Yes.
So,
I understand your.
so would we have been able to do a 10% contingency if we had done the topographic survey? And how much would a topographic survey cost?
Well, if we had done the topographic survey and done a design to determine the actual final grading and all the earthwork, I wouldn't even have that done until the fall. So then I'd have to wait another few months to get that put out to bid, because you can't really move dirt in winter conditions.
Right.
And so we would have to wait till next summer. And then during that time frame, it would get potentially worse.
But still, the question would be, your question is, would it have been a value, if time was not part of the equation, and we did the topographical survey, would we have been able to still do 10% and save the city money?
Yeah, if I had more detailed information, I would have gone with a 10% contingency. That's true.
And how much would it roughly ballpark figure or topographic figure cost?
Survey and engineering grading, $30,000 to $40,000,
Not cheaper than I thought.
and a year worth of time.
Yeah, the time factor is the challenging part.
Yeah.
So what are your
thoughts?
what are,
Actually, we have some other questions. I know we can go
Where's
to
the original
survey?
surveys from it?
The original plans?
Original plans?
All we have are paper, electronic copies. I don't have something that I could use to generate earthwork quantities.
So we can't use what was generated when it was originally put in?
No, it's just paper, so I can't do takeoffs off of paper.
Well, I have some different questions, so if
Go
we
ahead.
need to
No,
discuss
we'll
this more.
have a more
Okay.
discussion. Let's do questions and then we'll go
Okay.
have a discussion.
Because my questions are, with the removal of the debris in there, how's that going to affect the roadway, the neighbors? How much trucking is going to be done?
It's going to be a substantial amount of trucking, and before they get started, they're going to stage on 17th Avenue. Most likely, they'll go straight down 17th and out 37th to 85, and then go to wherever they're taking it. I doubt they would go up to 34, but they could. We'll work that out at the pre-construction stage as to their routes. And then during the operation, they'll work from 7 to 7, try to get it done as expeditiously as possible. And minimize the disturbance so we can get out of there before school starts.
So they're gonna go south, east, and then north?
I would imagine
Instead
they're
of
gonna
just
go
north
north.
and east and then?
Yeah, it's up to them how they want to go out, but they went north to 34 and across the Spaghetti Junction, they could go that route. But I don't know where they're hauling it. They may be hauling it up north to Pierce or Nunn, but I don't know where they're hauling it. They haven't told me that.
Okay, so are we going to give the neighborhood adequate notice?
Yes. Before we get started, if we get started, I would imagine after the 4th of July, we'll put out, we'll have the contractor put out door hangers, but we'll put out a mailing or virtual social media to the neighborhood, let them know that the construction will be happening from this date to this date, and expect a lot of truck traffic and.
Okay.
And this is any of our road construction repairs there?
Yes, because the 17th Avenue road repairs that we're looking to do are planned for next year.
Okay.
Good.
I
If
think
we
that's
beat up the
another
road a
reason
little
why
bit-
we need to get it done
Yeah.
as fast as we can, because there's no use repairing and reconstructing roads and then have heavy equipment come up and
Ruining the
Trash
roads,
'em out.
yeah.
Right, because our plan is to rebuild or mill and overlay 17th from 32nd all the way to 37th next year.
Any other questions? No? All right. More discussion? Did you have anything you wanted to bring up? Any more thoughts on it?
it's a valid point.
Valid point,
Welcome
yeah,
to change
100%.
orders.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've never liked change orders, and I don't like 25%. But in this position, well, what I do like is operating within an operational budget, so the money's there. It's not ideal, but it's got my vote.
Especially with the amount of information that we have, and Mark doesn't have enough to go off of, especially because, there was nothing really laid out as far as design
And
previous.
to be honest with you, I remember we were having preliminary discussions about this before this went out to bid. We were actually guessing more of it was going to be a lot more than that. We were actually guessing $750,000 up.
Wow.
And when I saw that, I was even surprised, and that was my questions. But I mean, I'm confident in them. It's still under budget, even with the 25% contingency. We need to get it done. I think this is something that we can't put off, and it's been neglected for a while and needs to get done.
But here's what happens too. You have a contractor come in and they came in and pretty low, and they come back with change order and change order and change order, and it's not something that, was in the scope of the project. And if it wasn't in the scope of the project and we're asking for more, it's understandable. But if we are dealing with people that don't perform for us like we need them to in a timely fashion and in the budget, then we don't hire them the next time.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
We've had that before.
And we've had it
before.
But as Mark mentioned, what they do is earthwork, right? And so that's in essence what they do. So I'm okay with going with them. And I do appreciate also the 25% because I think that's being proactive on your part because we don't know, and it provides that flexibility for us.
But we could know.
But
Right.
we could, yeah.
could.
But
Well,
at this
again,
point, yeah.
that's, yeah.
If time wasn't a factor,
Exactly.
and that's the only thing that's really hurting us.
Mm-hmm.
Your point's noted.
That's very well noted. All right. No, yes, Councilmember Neal.
Well, it's so disappointing to find out that this maintenance has been deferred for 25, 30 years, perhaps, and that now this council is having to spend the money, and fortunately, we have some funds left over from the pandemic to do this with. Otherwise, we would be scrambling, trying to figure out how to do this because it's very desperately needed to get this back to where it's supposed to be and for the purpose that was originally intended is to catch the stormwater runoff in the large capacity storms and disperse it at a a smaller rate of flow back into the storm drainage system. And it's definitely not working the way it is, or the way it was. And noticed a lot of trash that would build up, and there's definitely a silt built up, and it definitely needs to be accomplished. It's unfortunate that this council has to sit here and spend that kind of money to get it done, when I'm sure if it had been maintained properly over the years, it would have been a lot less money.
Yeah, we definitely wouldn't be in this situation.
Oh.
100% agree. Well, I think, as you know, and we've discussed, that once this is done, it's going to be maintained properly from here on in. So hopefully we don't run into this problem again.
Not in my
Hopefully,
lifetime,
yes.
please.
Yes. So I think we have the right staff in place that's going to ensure that that doesn't happen. So I'm confident enough, once this gets done, we won't have to worry about that. So, all right. Any other questions, comments? All right. Entertain a motion.
I move to award the Chapelot Detention Pond grading and maintenance contract in the amount of $480,152.15 to Melvin Geib, Incorporated, with a contingency of $120,847.85 to be used only with city manager approval for a not to exceed amount of $601,000.
Second.
A motion is second to award the Chapel Detention Pond grading and maintenance contract in the amount of $480,152.15 to Melvin Geib Incorporated, with a contingency of $120,847.85 to be used only with city manager approval for a not to exceed amount of $601,000. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay.
Nay.
Nay. All right, roll call vote, please.
Mayor Clark,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Spear,
Aye.
Councilmember Johnson,
Aye.
Councilmember Neal,
Aye.
Councilmember Mortensen,
Aye.
Councilmember Crabtree,
Aye.
Councilmember Delaney.
Nay.
Okay, motion passes 6-1. Thank you. All right. Next item on the agenda, item number 7, consideration of project award for the Evans Park Drainage Project.
Evening, Mr. Mayor, members of council. So this is 3 different parks that we're looking to, again, improve the drainage on. Staff has done a bunch of work on Driftwood, and then some work on Prairie View, and then Dante Park is the 3rd location. The goal here, again, is to improve the drainage so the water flows through the park and doesn't create ponding, icing problems, and allows for better maintenance overall of the vegetation that's within the parks. This is also being funded through the leftover ARPA money that's out there. And again, it is the same situation where we've measured in the field distances, but in terms of earthwork, this one doesn't have as much, none of these have substantial amounts of earthwork. It's just removing the material that's there and then putting some topsoil back and building pans if there's not pans, or replacing pans if there are. The low bidder on this one is Ground Solutions. They're out of Greeley. They are primarily, they work in parks, and they do park grading and drainage and all that kind of stuff, along with other aspects of park and recreation. We reached out to their references who have done substantial amount of park work with them around northern Colorado, and they're very well referred to, thought of by their previous clientele. Their low bid was about not just under 90,000 below the second bidder, which was Dietzler Construction. I'm confident after talking to them that they can complete this work. This work will probably happen in a little bit longer time frame, and we'll work with them to stage Driftwood Park be the first primary one that they work on, because that's kind of the centerpiece of the parks within the city. We'll probably do Dante second, because that's closest to a school, so that one gets done ahead of any school opening, and then Prairie View will be the last one to be completed. I'm confident that they can do the work, and I'm recommending approval of this contract to Ground Solutions, and I'd be happy to answer any questions. Again, this one does have a 20% contingency, because we didn't have the physical time to go out there and do a full-blown survey. So everything is essentially field measurements with tapes.
Right. Any questions, comments?
Yes, where are we getting the funding, for this? Because it looks like we're kind of out of ARPA funds if we add in all the contingencies, so
This is
where does that funding come from then?
This is all out of the ARPA money, and it still leaves a remainder of ARPA money. I forget the exact amount.
612,000.
Yeah, you still have it between 416,000 and 632,000 left. We have over 1.5 million.
So there's currently $1,587,250 in ARPA funds that either need to be dedicated to a qualifying project or allocated back to the general fund before December 31st of this year. And so these drainage projects are certainly qualifying projects for these funds. So you take the $1,587,250 minus the Chapelo, and that leaves the balance of what's available.
I got it. I got it.
So the question I have is, we're spending a lot of money on these parks, from signage to retrofit drainage. When we design a park, aren't we already figuring out how it should drain? So why are we spending more money to redo the draining? Am I not understanding something?
No,
Well,
it's a valid point.
Drift, in the case of both of them, I think the maintenance was less than stellar, and Driftwood got overgrown over the years, and it didn't have a pan built into the system. There was some argument in the engineering community about whether pans are necessary in flat areas, and in my opinion, they're absolutely necessary, because in order to maintain it, you have to be able to get up to it, and if you can't get to it because it's mushy, then you're never going to maintain it. It's going to become overgrown. That's the beauty of a pan. Now, if you don't have an intention of maintaining it and want to create artificial wetlands, don't put the pan in. But for a public park where you're going to have people wandering around and playing games and whatnot, you want to be able to maintain it, so you want that water to flow through. So in the case of Driftwood, there is no pan. It's just a graded swale at a very flat slope, which hasn't flowed in years, and it's always backed up, so the water's just puddled up, and that allowed the vegetation to get overgrown. So we're going to install a pan where there wasn't one.
So then Da Vinci Park, we're not going to experience this type of problem in the future?
I don't know the design on Da Vinci Park. I think that Da Vinci's on a hill, right?
I think it's on a hill.
Okay.
There's no, yeah.
Driftwood.
You're talking about Driftwood.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Driftwood, yeah, we're gonna install a pan in Driftwood so that it will drain from now on. And then the crews will be able to get in there and cut the grass right up to the pan.
So here's what happens.
Yeah, I've
is
seen them
you
get
don't-
stuck a couple times this year.
you Don't maintain the parks.
Oh, I get that.
You don't have the proper equipment and the
Understand
proper
that.
staff to do it. This is what happens.
As a person who has to dig their ditches every year to irrigate, it's just the water just brings in dirt and it just sediments, and I think it's from years of having that sediment in there, and we were told that we couldn't do anything
Do
with
anything
it.
about it. Yep.
So going forward, this would be something that we would be
Yeah.
forecasting for annual maintenance?
Yep.
Yep.
That's why
Because
we
this
got-
is ridiculous,
I
that we're
agree.
spending this kind of
We
money,
agree.
I
and that
agree
these
with you.
parks are sucking up so much cash flow.
Yep. We agree with you 100%. And
Okay.
this is the problem that we have with it not being maintained over the years.
And if we weren't informed about those things or told you can't do anything, that's why it wasn't done.
The parks are second, because what happened first was taking all the drains, all the sediment out of the east side storm drains.
Council Delaney had his hand up first, and I'll get to you. Councilmember Neal, go ahead.
So I'm gonna be quick. Everything I said about the previous one is the same thing here. We are rushing because we don't wanna get the study done. All the problems are because previous, not you staff, but the previous staffs haven't done their job.
Yep.
And I just, again, we're back in the situation where Ground Solutions could have been, could end up getting more money than Dietzler did, and I just, contingencies this large, I don't like, because it really makes the bid system very hard to judge.
Yeah, well, we also in a time crunch to use the ARPA funds too. We have
But
to.
we just have to dedicate it, is that correct?
So those ARPA funds either have to be dedicated to a qualifying project or dedicated back to the general fund by the end of this year.
We're really in a time.
So if we picked even though you can't move dirt during the snow, I understand that, but if we picked and awarded a project by the end of the year,
Can you carry it over?
can
So
you
yes.
carry it over because you dedicated that money to a qualifying project?
I didn't think we
Not with the ARPA.
I didn't think we could with the ARPA funds. That's why we're Yeah,
But it goes back into our general fund anyway, so we can still have access to it. Right?
this would be, this is her
Aha.
specialty.
Yeah, I
Right
thought we
here.
had to give it
Sorry, I'm
back.
a troublemaker tonight.
I tried to hide in the back row. So the rules do state you have to have the money encumbered by the end of 2024. And so we can award a project, actually have to have a contract in place by the end of the year. That money has to be used and totally spent then by the end of 26. So we do have some time. I'm a little bit more cautious in nature when it comes to federal funding and promises that are made with money that's not spent. I think the risk is there potentially, if it's not spent after 24 for them to look at cities that maybe haven't utilized those dollars in full. As of today, the guidance is 26 to have it spent, but I do think there's a slight risk there that you should be aware of.
Jackie, if the funds would go back into the general fund, any that are remaining, do you still have to account to the feds on where that money was spent, even though it goes back into the general fund?
We do not, so we were a non-entitlement unit, so being a smaller municipality, and so our award was under $10 million. So we are able to capture that entire award under a revenue recapture and retain that money in our general fund. And that doesn't require us to do any additional reporting of how we spend that money. So anything that we don't spend on these projects, then we could retain in the general fund under that provision and use it however you see fit in future years.
Till they decided
So
to take
what-
it back.
So what I'm hearing is that the money could go to the general fund and we would have access to it in the future to use as we want.
As of now, yes.
Possibly.
That's
Well,
correct.
Hold on, but in the beginning, I heard you say, and I agree with you, the federal government can change rules on the fly.
Yes.
So in that statement, I want to capture that money and use it all immediately, regardless of what the contingencies are. But if I've also heard you correctly, we can take that money, move it into the general fund, protect it. It's now ours. So the Fed can't take it back. And then we can use it into any project that we see fit. And then we're not feeling rushed in some of these projects. Am I understanding that correctly?
That is a correct statement. The only caveat is if council would like to use those funds that have then been retained in the general fund for a water, wastewater, or storm drainage enterprise project, that is now local money because it's city funds captured and maintained in the general fund. So if that were to be used on a water, storm drainage, or wastewater project, that's state or local funds. And that could put our enterprise status in jeopardy in one of those enterprise funds. So that is the benefit of directly allocating it to a qualified project. As Cody mentions, is that this is direct federal ARPA money going to the storm drainage fund, and we eliminate that potential issue.
Are we even within a financial threat or a threshold
Yes.
of that? We are?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it's more than 10% of the ongoing revenues or the annual revenue of that fund. The storm drainage fund is very, very small. So that would instantly eliminate our enterprise fund for a period of time.
So the lessons that we've learned is we
Spend this.
spend it
Spend the
and make sure we
federal
maintain it.
Yep.
Yeah, and that's the reason why we want to spend it.
And since we'll be on council for years to come, we'll set a new precedence.
Spend that ARPA money.
And no, maintain it. Maintain
Well-
what
Yeah.
our infrastructure.
And that's a good point. Who's gonna be, I'd like to see in the future a plan on who's maintaining it and what the maintenance schedule is. Because
The accountability as well.
just winging it and having to, come up with some funds by the grace of God sometime to get this done is probably not gonna happen in the future. So a good plan would be great to see.
And that goes for all of them.
It's for everything. Thank you, Jackie. Appreciate it.
Jackie.
Thank you, Jackie.
Yes, go ahead, Councilmember Neal.
Other Mark, wasn't Driftwood Park originally built as a detention pond?
All three locations are detention
detention
facilities.
Thank you. The other, I don't know whether I can, I noticed that there are two different construction companies that bid on this project and didn't bid on the first one. And Ground Solutions was the only one that bid on both of them.
Correct.
So that's interesting to me. It begs why the other six contractors didn't bid on this project too. You know, that did arouse my curiosity, so.
All right. Any other questions or comments? I'd entertain a motion.
I move to award the Evans Parks Drainage Project contract in the amount of $474,438.69 to Ground Solutions with a contingency of $95,561.31 to be used only with city manager approval for a not to exceed amount of $570,000.
Second.
Okay, got a motion and a second to award the Evans Park Drainage Project contract in the amount of $474,438.69 to Ground Solutions with a contingency of $95,561.31 to be used only with city manager approval for a not to exceed amount of $570,000. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay.
Nay.
All right, roll call vote again, please.
Mayor Clark,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Spear,
Aye.
Councilmember Johnson,
Aye.
Councilmember Neal,
Aye.
Councilmember Mortensen,
Aye.
Councilmember Crabtree,
Aye.
Councilmember Delaney.
Nay.
All right, motion passes 6-1. Great, thank you, Mark, appreciate it.
Thank you,
All
Mark.
right, next item on the agenda, reports, city manager.
Yes, Mayor and Council, just a couple updates for you. Just a reminder to the City Council that the next meeting will be held on Monday, June 17th, 2024, due to the Colorado Municipal League Annual Conference that will be taking place beginning on June 18th. And then here a couple weeks ago, Brian Stone was in Las Vegas promoting the city of Evans to retailers and developers from across the country. Had a very busy couple days. I sent you guys an update that Brian had provided for me here just the other day. So I've asked Brian to come up and kind of share his experience and the lessons learned from that trip to the ICSC convention and how we're going to use that to further our economic development efforts.
Thank you, Cody. Good evening, members of council. Yeah, like Cody mentioned, I was able to attend the ICSC retail conference on May 20th and 21st. Really was an eye-opening experience. There was nearly 25,000 people in attendance, which is actually down from years past. And really going in, we didn't know what to expect. We didn't know, we know we had 3 or 4 meetings set up. We actually had 3 retail meetings and 3 with developers that the retail coach assisted us with in getting established. But when I was out there, I mean, it ranges from just services for retail recruitment to quick service restaurants to convenience stores, Dollar Generals, Five Below, just kind of anything and everything that you can think of. Limited with restaurants. There was just not a lot of attendance in that, but was able to connect with 13 retailers and 4 developers where I actually got to sit down at a table with them and have one-on-one meetings and share and promote what the City of Evans or who the City of Evans is. I do want to just let you guys know our GIS administrator, Jennifer Novi, was at a conference 2 weeks before mine and then came back and spent a week putting together a GIS model, an interactive model that I could click on with these developers and retailers. That was fantastic. So I want to make sure that I extend a thank you to her on the record because it was such a valuable tool. I could sit there and say, hey, I think this is a good location for you, and I could type in Taco Bell, and I could show the proximity of where that was to that. I could draw the radius of a 3 mile. There was concerns with proximity, so then I was able to look at how our, Highway 85 corridor goes to the north to Cheyenne rather than up into Greeley. So it was just a valuable tool, and I really do appreciate her time that allowed me to provide that overview of Evans and then highlight the parcels available for retail development. It's really just the beginning. It really is just putting Evans on the map. Everybody knew where the city of Greeley was. And so when they said, where's Evans? They said, oh yeah, Greeley. And I said, well, if you just cross the street, you're in Evans. And so it was good to put us on the map. But now is really when the work needs to begin. I'm able to now have direct contacts. I have face-to-face contact with a good handful of people. And there was some specific no's. I mean, they are very loyal to their franchisees, which I think is great, but it was a learning lesson for me to know how we start recruiting, the locations that we're going for, and then how, when I send information, the tool that I can put of the acres that they need and the location and the proximity to something else and brand it to Evans. So they don't know that they know they want to go to Center Place, but they don't know that, hey, you cross the street and now you're at Sprouts, Greeley, but you just come down a little bit further. We have vector development, which is a huge opportunity for us. You know, I didn't meet with Kroger, but I met with, had conversations with them, have a good contact information for the grocer that we all want. But now it's my opportunity to not rely on the retail coach, me having contacts that I can reach out directly, have met these people face to face, and really just start to build those relationships. So appreciate the opportunity. I really do think it was a valuable experience for me to get out and really showcase what Evans is. Just share with the council's vision of what you guys are looking for public infrastructure beautification or open for development, both retail and commercial. So I do appreciate the opportunity and happy to answer any questions you guys have.
I have to say, I'm really glad that you weren't out there, and I'm really glad that you're in this position. And the contacts that you made with the people, the information that you were able to pull and show them at your fingertips was great. I'm glad that you got us on the radar. And I know you said to me when we've had discussions, you may got a lot of no's, but you also said, well, if this happens and this happens, we would be more than happy to come in here and explore some more. And we know some of that's going to happen. So that hopefully those contacts that you made and stay in contact with them will come to fruition, and we'll get them here eventually. But I appreciate your hard work out there walking 18 plus miles, in a couple of days and meeting with everybody. I'm glad you were there doing that. So I appreciate it.
Appreciate that.
I agree. I think, putting our name in the hat is what we wanted since for a while. It's just, hey, don't tell us no. Like just put our name in there, regardless if we know what we can think what the outcome will be, and if it's a huge no, it's okay. But the point is, like, we're putting ourselves out there to say, hey, we're here too. Because you just never know. And sometimes people don't really realize, it's like you mentioned, they know Greeley, but they don't know Evans. And we're right next, like literally butted up to them. And so the simple fact that now they know that there's a city fairly close in proximity, because proximity is huge with any, company, especially franchises and all that stuff. They're really looking at that. And if there's something in, if like, for example, there's a space taken in Greeley, but they know that we're fairly close in proximity, they would want to come here. They're like, oh, we have a spot where no one's there, and we can, capitalize that. But I think you're great, again, as mentioned. You're approachable. You're like, I think this position is great for you because you just have that charisma and like, it suits you. And I think you're a good face for the city to get out there in this position. So.
Appreciate the support.
I agree. Thank you for doing it. And you are the best at what you're doing, so keep it up.
Any other comments? All right. Thank you, Brian.
Thank you. I'll keep you updated.
Yeah, it's exciting.
Cody, anything else?
No, sir.
All right. If we could, about the council meeting on the 17th, I know it's not on any of our calendars. If we can maybe get it added just as a reminder for us.
I'll send that out in the morning.
Great, thank you. City Attorney.
Just two quick items. Those of you who are going to CML, I'll see you there. And then the other one, the next meeting, which is again on the 17th, at 4 o'clock, I'm going to do a Water Law 101 with Councilmember Delaney, and anybody that wants to join us is welcome to do so. That's all I've got.
Great, thank you. All right, council discussion. So just a couple things for me. So I think all of you, if you looked at your email, you got a letter from Cody or a memorandum from Cody regarding the mill levy. I know that we've discussed going out for mill levy increase in November. Cody and his staff have been working really great with Tom Norton. For those of you who are not familiar with Tom Norton, he's the former mayor of Greeley. He's also worked on a number of projects in mill levy overrides and tried to get mill levies passed for the school district, and had plenty of success for that. After a few meetings with him and discussions between Cody and I, His professional opinion is that we hold off going out for a mill levy increase for November. And that's just because, one, the time frame. He says we need about 12 to 15 months. We need about $100,000 for surveys, for marketing, and everything, and getting committees together and taking polls. He also said with the stuff that's coming on this November's ballot regarding, I think it's Senate Bill 50, and I forget what the other one is, that deals with property taxes and how property taxes can be collected and distributed, and how it could have to possibly go out to a vote if it's over a certain percentage of your previous year's collection. So he's saying right now, based on his professional opinion, that it's not the right time for us to do this until everything blows over kind of with the state. And with two conflicting ballot measures, one, us asking for a mill levy increase, and the other one's talking about property tax reduction, he says it's probably not going to work out in our favor. He says we need to do some more marketing and research on it and probably go out for it in 2025 or later. So wanted to put it out to you. I know that was a big concern that we wanted to kind of do this. I know some of us have been on council for a while, has been wanting to do this for a lot longer. And I just wanted to say, get your thoughts. I'm in favor of pushing it back another year, but ultimately I'm one of 7. So I wanted to get your thoughts and ideas on it.
Well, I agree that the information presented is not the best. But if that's the case, that's the case. I would like to move it right away, but we just don't have the time to do it. And I don't want us to fail and then ask for it again.
Right.
So that's where I stand on it.
I agree. I think that the timing, it's all about timing. And not only that with like, property, taxes, going up, as well as insurance and all these things. It all contributes to all of this. And right now it's just not where people's minds are, especially to see an increase in anything additional. And so I do agree with what was mentioned.
Anybody else comments on it?
Yeah, this year we'd be at the very end of the ballot.
Yep.
After all these asks, and all
Yes,
the big
which
elections,
happened.
and all the heated conversation that's gonna be going on. So I think maybe not this year. I would like to see the mill levy go for next year, and then the following year do our sunset, because I think it's more important for us to get a mill levy increase. And I think it's, the more important ask needs to be first. In 2025, it's going to be kind of an off year, so that would be a really good time. I think that we need to get the ball rolling on getting a plan going.
Well, I know Cody and I have had some discussion on this. I know we have about $25,000 set aside right now, and what we were thinking about doing is he was looking at getting a consulting company out there to put some framework out there for polls and kind of ask a bunch of questions, get it out there for public comment, get it out for public opinion, and kind of start asking questions. Hey, if we were to do X, Y, and Z, what would you think? If this money was used for this, how would you feel? What are your thoughts? What are your concerns? And then just as we get the information, continue to funnel that down, and then just continue to narrow it down to a specific area. I know for me, one of my things I would use it for is infrastructure, police, all that stuff, and maybe eventually a rec district or a rec center. I mean, that's what I would definitely go for. But I think this is something that we just need to start asking the public what their thoughts are and their opinions, and see what they want use with it, if they even agree with it or not. So I know we could probably get that going out sometime later this year, and then just start really focusing it starting 2025. So.
Well, we rushed the, trying to get a sales tax approval for the road infrastructure, and saw that wasn't a good way to go about it. And I think we need to definitely get in there, because we've awakened the city. Unfortunately, we've awakened the citizens over the RV issue, and they're paying more attention to what's going on here. So we definitely need to educate them, get out there and educate them on why we need this.
Right. No, I agree.
I do agree, though, having some kind of survey out there, and because that's being proactive. I do agree with doing a survey, just because if we start those conversations early and being proactive versus when it's happening, we can get a pulse on what people are feeling right now, and even ask those specific questions to where, like, when would they feel comfortable? I mean, and again, when any survey is just getting that pulse, right? And we can ask those kind of some, very targeted questions, and then some pretty, like, kind of vague questions, however it's formatted, but the point is getting an idea, so when we know that we're gonna, roll with that, at least we know how to approach it.
All right. So, all right, we'll start doing that, and hopefully next year we'll go out for it if we have the opportunity to do that. So, next item that I have for a council discussion is I am holding a mayor's town hall on Thursday, June 13th at 6 o'clock here at the ECC. So hopefully you guys can make it. This is going to be kind of a just open discussion, kind of give the community an update of a lot of things that we have going on in the city, and then a chance for them to, do some question and answers with them, with the public. So June 13th at 6 p.m. here, if you can make it. So hopefully you can. So that's all I have. Anything else?
I've got something. So I'd like to talk about the ad hoc committee that we're going to get going. A couple of weeks ago, Cody reached out to each of us asking where and what direction. So please make sure that you respond to Cody, so I at least have some framework as I get moving and putting together my plan to address the committee. But without your input, it's just going to be my input, and that's not the point of this committee at all.
Thank you for the reminder.
Yes,
Absolutely.
Thank you for the reminder.
Absolutely. Thank
I
you.
do want to say also, I'll be on, I'm not certain, I have to look which date, but I'll be on the panel for, with RAC at CML. So if you all want to join in and see what we're doing, definitely let me know. I'll get the information at the next council meeting, since it'll be that week. And I'll let you know when that will be.
Anything else? Anybody?
I don't really have a discussion. I guess I just would like to take a moment to do a business shout out. I recently found out that we have a really good new, I guess, I didn't know it was here. I went to their food truck and found out that they have a brick and mortar store here over by the Maverick, and it is Frida's Grill and Cafe, and
That's new.
Oh.
it was where it was where,
Burrito
Yeah,
and
it's
With the
tacos.
burrito
South
and
Philly or
tacos.
whatever
Yeah.
it was.
yeah,
They're
it
really
was,
good.
it was,
yeah.
and I just
Oh,
want
no,
to say
so-
that they had the best chili relleno breakfast burritos on the planet.
Oh my gosh, I have to
And
go.
I just have to say, the beautifully decorated. They really took pride in this little restaurant. It's really good, and I would just say for everybody to go and check it out. And they've got specials, and they even had chicken fried steak last week as a special. So really, just a nice little restaurant, and I am very happy they're here.
You said Frida's Cafe?
It's
Frida,
by
like,
what
yeah.
used to be the Come and Go, but now it's Maverick.
I know I saw that. I was like,
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
called Frida's. I've been there. It's good.
Yeah.
cool. I like, okay,
So
thank you.
Anything else? Anybody else? All right. Well, if there's nothing else, thank you everybody for attending this evening. Meeting adjourned.
It's really good.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, go.